Yes, there you are. Hello, people. These are two Beatle podcasters that you've seen talk about way too much stuff that they know about, that they should know about, but they do.
And I'm
Uh,
Ethan Alexanian.
yeah. And I'm Andy Nichols. And this is the first installment of the brand new Anything About, actually, that was wrong. Anything But the Beatles podcast.
Andy,
Uh,
we're less than 20 seconds in, bud, and you've already screwed us.
I
We're
don't know.
we're it's all downhill from here.
Well, I don't know. There's about 18,000 podcasts to keep track of, listen to, remember, subscribe. Listen, I got one word wrong. So it's Anything But the Beatles.
Yeah.
Show number one, a show that kind of was born out of just a conversation, really, between Ethan Alexanian and myself, who have been podcasting separately and working together on
Yeah.
collaborating on both our podcasts.
Separately in varying stages of together.
Yeah, Ethan of his Fans on the Run podcast,
And Andy of his two legs.
Yeah. So now we, through our shows and talking off the air, we have discovered a love of mutual music outside of the Beatles. And we thought, why not do one show a month, maybe, and talk about these records that we like that are just not the Beatles. And we came up with one. And I'm going to pull my. Go ahead.
The nice thing about this one is that this was the album that kind of started the discussions for the show. Because if I may recount the story,
Please.
We were talking, and you would ask me, "Hey, yo, are you getting the Plastic Ono band thing?" Okay, I won't do the voice.
No, do it, please. That was
Okay.
great.
Yeah, well, you're gonna get the Plastic Ono band box. Hey, gabagool. And I said, no, I already spent my wad on the Who Sell Out box. Like, oh yeah, I did too. And so we just started,
And literally, this was like less than 2 weeks ago.
And here we are.
And here we are for our first one. And we chose this one because it's tying into the box set release, which by the time this episode is airing will have already been out. And that's why we chose to do it on the weekend of the box. I keep calling it 50 because everything's been 50.
Yeah.
It's more than 50.
It's 54.
Right.
50, it's not even because the album was released in December of 67.
Right. So, we've been so pre-programmed with all these anniversaries to say 50, 50, 50, but it's not. It's well past 50, but
well, the Who hasn't done a great job of that. They had I think a 52nd anniversary box from My Generation.
Yeah, they did. They were not timely. Even like when they did Tommy in 2013 and Quadrophenia, which was in 2011, they were just super boxes that were thrown out there. So they weren't tied into any anniversary, and this kind of follows suit with that. So,
well, because we as Beatles fans have been kind of spoiled with these box sets and re-releases and re-releases being so neat and organized with how they're put out, whereas other bands like the Who, it's been more, throw the shit at the wall, see what sticks, reissue it as needed.
And yeah, in the Who's case, some of the CDs, it's been trained like Tommy's been redone in a deluxe edition like two separate times. So there was a deluxe edition from 2003, and then there was a pared down version of the box, the Super Deluxe version, which became a new deluxe edition from 2013.
Yeah.
So the repackaging of Who material, as many Who fans will know, it's been going on for decades.
Oh God. Well, even the album we're talking about today has been repackaged in varying forms since like 1970, when Track Records was kind of running out of steam. They just decided, hey, let's look at what we've done so far. And they just reissued their entire back catalog with these god-awful covers and the title Backtrack.
Yeah, really just poor judgment. But just some context for us as fans, Ethan, where did you fall in line of discovering the Who sellout in terms of your Who fandom? Because I know that you are big, you enjoy you really go for the 60s Who material. So I'm very curious, was it the first one you went to? How did you find it?
It wasn't the first one I went to. Well, actually, I don't know what the first Who album I went to was, because I grew up in the iTunes generation, so I was just buying songs.
We'll forgive you, but go on.
Screw you. I was buying songs I like, so I had, My Generation. I think I had Magic Bus.
You were just buying stuff off of iTunes.
I just bought what I liked. And I think my dad pointed this album out to me as something, to notice.
Just to check out, right?
Yeah. And I've loved it ever since. And that must have been 2013 or 2014 when I first heard it.
So it hadn't really gone through the rest of the Who catalog yet. You would really just kind of discovered a little bit of the 60s hits, and then you kind of dropped in with the Who sellout, and you were a fan of it ever since, right?
Yeah.
Very cool. I mean, that's not a usual typical pattern, I think, of Who fandom. They usually gravitate towards the.
Oh, I'm not a typical person.
No, you're certainly not.
No, thank you.
You're not, and none of us are. But that's a very interesting way to look at it, and discovering music exposed through our family members, dads, uncles.
I'll turn this on you. Where did this album fall in your Who
very
fandom?
Later in the Who fandom. I'm talking. I've been a Who fan for 25 years. And I probably didn't really get into this album properly until about 10 years ago.
Really?
Yeah, because I have been a diehard stalwart 70s Who fan. Quadrophenia.
So you like the stadium rock Who?
I absolutely do, because the synthesizer Who, I love all that stuff.
You're the only person I know that's spoken, fairly positively about the Kenny Jones albums.
Yeah, I mean, because they are what they are. I mean, there's a couple of, they don't compare to anything that was done certainly in the Keith Moon era at all, but they're not bad records. They're clean, they're safe. I know Roger Daltrey hates them because he thought the Who were too polished of a sound, but there's some good tracks on those records, I wouldn't listen to them start to finish, Face Dances or It's Hard, but I can go back to them and pick apart a couple tracks and listen to them.
Actually, now that we're talking about this, because this seems to be a trademark of my show, like tangents. Is it just me, or does You Better You Bet? I don't know if this is a unique take or not. It always sounded like Who Are You Part 2.
With the beat of the whole thing,
with like starting with the synthesizer kind of intro, going into those harmonies. It's just the only difference is instead of like it's
right. That's a pretty cool take on that song, because it actually kind of is a Who Are You Part 2. But yeah, later 70s Who for me has been my entryway into the Who for a long time. Quadrophenia is like my gospel. I mean, I think I have about 10 copies of it. Same for Who's Next.
10 copies of an album. What, are you crazy?
Yeah, probably. So I don't know, 10 box sets, cassettes, tapes, CD versions. Everything's here.
I only kid. I wish I had 10 copies of a Who album.
I definitely. I mean, it's probably something like some stupid number like that. But it took me a while to then navigate backwards into the 60s canon of the Who. And I'd always kind of known about the Who sellout, reading all the biographies, the funky cover, and I'm like, what is this album about?
The cover was one of the first things that stood out to me. Because of and now I proceed to the part of the program where I hold up a prop.
You're going to pull the Tom Hunyadi.
Yeah. So here's the record.
Do it.
That's it. That's my Tom Hunyadi.
Oh, all right. I was gonna say
I've upgraded my Tom impression from "Hey, I'm a Tom Hunyadi. Hey, I'm walking here."
But
anyways, back to the Who sellout. It's you know Pete with his stupid fucking grin with a deodorant stick. Roger Daltrey with a can of baked beans bigger than him in a bathtub.
It was just it's a cover, and you're like, what are we looking at here?
And then you have this, the bizarre ad copy at the bottom.
Right.
It's like this is not how an album is supposed to work.
What are you looking at? Like when you see this, like, I don't think you look at this and go, well, I certainly didn't go, oh my God, this is something I got to hear. Now we think of it differently now.
Yeah.
Of course. But
it doesn't really fit in with like when you think of album from 1967, because you would think of very colorful. You'd think of like Disraeli Gears by Cream.
Right. Well, yeah, you would think of those other kind of iconic 67, Satanic Majesties, Pepper, Mystery Tour, all the other big ones out of 67.
By the way, I am so glad you said Satanic Majesty's Request before you said Sgt. Pepper.
Why?
Oh no, it's just that just gives me a huge sense of satisfaction, pun intended.
No, I know. Okay.
Oh Jesus Christ! What did I sign up for?
Yeah, no. So it's an album that it took a while for me to get into, but then when I finally figured out what the concept was, and I guess I had to be a little bit older to finally learn about pirate radio and what it meant to listeners in the UK, knowing a little bit about the history of radio in England, being that the BBC only gave you 2 or 3 channels to listen to.
Well, and the BBC only gave, I think, less than 60 minutes a day of what they called needle time.
Needle time, that's right.
And so, well, that's kind of why we have all these great live sessions and, full BBC albums. But that's why the pirate stations sprouted up. You have places like Radio Luxembourg,
Caroline,
Radio Caroline, and of course the name you're probably going to hear over and over through the rest of this show, wonderful Radio
London, yeah. Whoopee. So that was for an album to have that approach at that time, to do that at that time, at the height of pirate radio. I mean, considering where the Who were at that time, that this was their 3rd album. Ethan showed you at the top of the show. He's got the first their debut, My Generation. Okay.
Oh, I haven't shown that yet. I showed that before we started.
Oh, but before we started. But
I can hold it up.
Please do that for us, Tom, will you? So
for the audio listeners, I am Vanna Whiting.
Right.
My Generation.
So, and again, that was for me, not a real big fan of that period because it's all R&B stuff for the most part. No. I'm not really into it.
For a long time, this record, a quick one, this was my favorite Who record. I even preferred it to Sellout.
Really?
Yeah.
A quick one, as we know, in the UK, but also retitled Happy Jack in the United States.
Yeah, because they added Happy Jack to it.
Correct. Let's make some more money and throw Happy Jack the single on there, which was, as we found out in our Ubu Jubu episode, was Paul McCartney's one of his favorite early Who songs, right?
Shameless plug. And actually, now you mentioned Happy Jack, and I'll probably mention this show again later on. I saw the Who back in 2017. I think this was the only stop in the tour where they played any amount of Happy Jack. Pete played about 20 seconds of Happy Jack on a guitar.
Acoustic?
Yeah, because apparently the Who had their first chart hit anywhere in the States, any sort of major radio airplay in Michigan, where I saw them playing Happy Jack.
With Happy Jack?
And so he was, wise old rock star telling stories. He started playing. Dun, 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 dun.
Dun, 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 dun. Yeah.
Happy Jack wasn't old.
So, you've got these first couple of albums, and obviously a quick one was a real big departure and growth from My Generation. Kind of Anglo pop, to borrow a word from Dave Marsh, who described that in the liner notes of the 1995 edition, with obviously a quick one while he's away being the focal point of that record. Done much better live, by the way, in my opinion, on Live at Leeds. Although that studio version is just so quirky anyway.
Is it sacrilege to say when it comes to the 60s Who stuff, I don't prefer the live version. I like the live version, or the live versions of any of it. I don't prefer it.
You prefer the studio cuts?
I'll take the studio version of Substitute or My Generation over the live versions any day.
Really? Because I honestly, that was my first exposure to any song from the Who Sell Out was Tattoo on Live at Leeds, the expanded CD version from the 90s. That was the first time I even heard that. I didn't even hear the studio version. And so you've got songs like that. I'm like, oh, this is a really good song. You know, Keith Moon going crazy on the drums. Welcome to my life. I mean, it's crazy. And then so you got Substitute. I think those live versions on Live at Leeds, for me, are light years better than the studio tracks.
The only live version of the 60s Who song that I like better is I think it was like the London Palladium 1969 version of My Generation.
Sure.
I think that's really good.
Yeah, but I mean, you're a purist at heart, so you like these original 60s stuff all intact. And
well, it's not even a matter of purism. It's just I think they packed so much into those tiny little singles, especially with My Generation in particular, talking about a song that's not on the album we're talking about.
No, I know, but we're getting to that. Yeah. We're kind of the path to where who got to this point. I mean, like 1966, Substitute. I mean, they're these singles, all these pre-Tommy singles, Substitute, Happy Jack, I'm a Boy, Pictures of Lily. These are all pop, little pop perfections in 3 minutes. All these tracks.
Yeah.
So it's, this is, you could see the trend that they were going. And, the Who Sell Out, the period between the Who Sell Out and Tommy is a really kind of crazy period. Because
I love that inner album period, because I love bands when they're weird, and you don't get much weirder than
the Who in 1968 were like, are we becoming something else, or are we just going to be doing like Call Me Lightning and Dogs?
Call Me Lightning, Dogs. Then you had like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Very well. So coming out of we're jumping ahead a little bit, but coming out of the Who Sell Out period into like an unknown period is also very interesting. So, I guess the pressure was on the band to perform and deliver, I guess, with the third album a little bit, probably, because obviously the fourth proper album would have been Tommy, but certainly it's an album that is, I don't know the chart success right on the top of my head, how it did in the UK or in the US.
I think it might have done better over here than it might have in the UK.
Right. So all right, here we go. So it reached 13. It reached 13 in the charts in the UK in December of '68.
How did it fare in Canada?
It got to let's see. It got to 48 in North America. So I don't know what it did in Canada. I just have the UK and the US here.
Fair enough.
I'm interested. Sorry, fellow Canadian. But
Canadian.
Well, on this show, I'm an honorary Canadian. How about that?
You're quick to dub yourself that.
I'm a nomad. I can do those.
Okay, fine. Oh, you can be an honorary Canadian if I can be an honorary Jersey boy.
You want to be an honorary soprano?
Yeah.
Okay.
Where's the fucking gabagool?
I'll talk to the guy to talk to the guy. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Good.
Oof, Maron.
This guy will be here.
Yeah. Oh.
The hands. You gotta do the hands.
Word to the wise. Remember Pearl Harbor.
So
see, this is what you've signed up for, listeners. You've signed up for, in this episode will probably just be the two of us recanting our favorite jingles from this album and doing Sopranos impressions at each other.
All right.
Not with, at
the record. So, I think in terms of, I don't know if the Who were at that make or break point yet with this album. I think Tommy became that album for sure.
Yeah.
The modest success with I Can See for Miles, not the success that Townsend wanted, as we all know, and he's stated that quite a lot over the years, and very recently in all the press promotion for the box set coming that's already out now.
That's the one thing about this whole box set. And, whenever the Who goes into publicity mode, it makes me remember how bitchy Pete Townsend is about anything. Like,
Oh,
remember when the last Who album came out?
yes.
And, Pete was going on whatever, and he was just bitching and moaning about whatever. And less than a year later, he was bitching about that album.
Yeah, he
It's
was.
like, none of us really, Roger didn't like where we were going with it.
That's very good, by the way. That's a very good Pete impersonation.
No,
I
it's
did read
not.
that article in the Rolling Stone magazine, and I enjoyed that the self-titled album from 2019. I thought it was light years better than Endless Wire.
Oh, God.
I thought it was a great record. I thought it was fantastic. So, I don't know. I think it gets a bad rap, but
I thought it was okay.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I like it better as much or better than Face Dances or It's Hard.
That is probably true.
But in terms of so the Who Sell Out, for those of you that don't know it, I mean, so the album has these jingles kind of promoting all these products that are, these main products that you see on this album cover, the deodorant, the Heinz baked beans,
Yeah.
Entwistle wearing a tiger outfit, and Keith Moon putting on,
Well,
acne stuff on his face. It's all this stuff. It's all these products manufactured and advertised on the record, interspersed
yeah.
the track. So you've got the songs.
Yeah.
So the album opens up with Armenia in the Sky, boom, into a jingle.
Well, the whole thing is set up like a pirate radio broadcast, and that was one of the main things that set pirate radio apart from, BBC, is that pirate radio had American style advertising. So they had like proper, radio jingles like this. And interspersed with the things that the Who were their own jingles on the record were actual Radio London jingles that I think the Who actually got sued over by Pam's, the company that made them in Dallas.
Out of Dallas, who does that? And they've been doing jingles for years out of Dallas.
They even still make a few. They
do
remake their old jingles, and one of the things on their demo reel was that wonderful Radio London. Yeah. And I've been so tempted to drop that $350 or whatever it is to do a one-off and have it just say my name or something.
That would be pretty cool.
Yeah. Ethan Alexander with fans on the ground. Whoopee!
That would be so cool.
Oh God, I don't even know if I'd put it out anymore. I just want to listen to it.
You just want to have it. Yeah. So Armenia City in the Sky is a powerful opener of a track on that album.
You left out the Monday.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, the days of the week.
So the album just opens up with the voice going Monday, Tuesday,
Monday.
Right. Tuesday. And then all of a sudden this distorted guitar, wow, right, drops right into the track, right?
Yeah.
And very psychedelic track, right? And it's written by Speedy Keen, who later
from Thunderclap Newman.
Later of Thunderclap Newman fame.
Again, our obligatory reference to the Fabulous Foursome. Beatle connection there. Pete formed Thunderclap Newman, featuring one young Jimmy McCulloch.
Very young Jimmy McCulloch at the time, like 14 or 15.
Yeah.
Whiz kid. So Speedy Keen writes Armenia City in the Sky. Super, super psychedelic track.
Which, fun thing about that, because, I am part Armenian. I've always been super irritated with the song, having it listed, it says Armenia in the title. And then you get to the song and it's like, Armenia. And it turns out it was just like a typo. The song was originally called I'm an Ear.
I'm an Ear.
Sitting in the sky.
Right, I'm an ear. Oh, I'm an ear. Very play on words there a little bit with that track.
Yeah.
And again, I think that ended up being included on the Maximum R&B box set from the 90s, and I think that's the first time I heard that song. So there was these songs that were out there that and then we go right into our first advertisement, which is the Heinz baked beans, which is written by John Entwistle.
Oh God, John Entwistle. The more I think about it, what I love about 60s Who, it has so much to do with John Entwistle.
Very much.
The Who being weird that's mostly John Entwistle. Because when you think of songs like Boris the Spider, you think of, Whiskey Man.
Yep.
These are all these weird little...
Let's not forget Keith Moon here either. Had a lot to do with that.
I think he and Keith went off and recorded most of the jingles themselves.
Right. So, but definitely the weirdness factor of the 60s, especially Entwistle, he's littered all over these jingles with his deep voice. And
what's for tea, man?
And of course the brass, which he was playing on because John was the horn player for the Who. And all these kind of, what's for tea, daughter? Heinz baked beans.
What's for tea, daughter?
I mean, so it's unbelievable to think about, like, you put on a record and you're actually hearing commercials. It's an unbelievable concept. It is. And it's highly original and highly entertaining.
And they're not even commercials that were paid for. These are things that the Who just did. And then I think all they got out of this record, they wanted, like, I think the quote from Pete is they wanted Jaguars, but all they got was 50 tins of Heinz baked beans.
That's right. And of course, their management at the time was very influential in what they were doing here.
Lambert and Stamp
were probably very hands-on at this point, still with the band and pushing this direction and supporting the band in this kind of pop art pastiche that they were doing with this whole thing. So they had their total support to do this and go all in. So that no doubt helped the band and got them through it a little bit to do this through it. Next track, Marianne with the Shaky Hand. Lots of different versions of this song too on various sets over the years.
Yeah.
One of the ones you like a lot on this album or not really?
It pains me to say it's not my favorite track on the record.
Mine
I have a feeling you kind of anticipated me saying that, though, given my track record. Pun intended with that sentence.
Track records. Yeah, it's okay. It's again,
we're here all night, folks.
It's Pete doing his, pictures of Lily, type writing stuff here. So, it's okay. I actually think it's a little out of place in the overall concept of the record a little bit.
Yeah.
Tattoo, Odorono, I Can See for Miles, Can't Reach. I just think those Marianne with the Shaky Hand, I just think is a little out of place in this record.
I agree, but it's not a bad song.
No, it's on its own. I don't think it flows with that.
Like if it wasn't on the album and it was just like the B-side to a single, like everyone would be like, oh my God, this B-side, what a gem.
Right. And that goes into one of my favorite tracks, weirder tracks, but I love it, is Odorono.
Well, first we have to mention the Premier drum.
Oh, right.
Premier drum.
Yeah, you gotta, if I forget the jingles, throw them in there because it's the one thing I wish they would actually put the jingles on the track listing, which they've done now. I think on these new versions that are coming out, you're getting the jingles, but like the CDs, if you look at like the 95 or any of these editions on CD, you're not seeing the jingle names listed. Now
you're lucky on the Spotify or on one of the Spotify versions. I think like the deluxe, it has in parentheses at the end of like the song title, includes Wonderful Radio London jingle, includes Premier drum.
Like when I rip this into my iTunes, I can see it says Marianne with the Shaky Hand, then parentheses, Premier drums into Radio London jingle. Right. So who's on the Premier? Is that all the Who you think shouting, Premier drums, or is that just John and Keith? What do you think?
No, it sounds like it's more than just John and Keith.
All of them, maybe. Yeah.
Well, certainly Keith on the drums.
Well, yeah, of course, obviously. Odorono. Who thought a song about deodorant could actually sound so catchy and good?
Yeah.
Sang the best she'd ever sang. And it's all triumphant. And it's like
that's the way she felt.
It's like we're talking about deodorant. He's singing about deodorant, and it sounds good.
But the beauty of this song, and they nail the whole language of ad copy. It sounds like an actual, thing you'd hear advertising deodorant.
Right. Triumphant was the way she felt as she opened the dressing room door. Right. And then it kind of ends, so she should have used Odorono. Oops. It's like,
Whoops.
Oopsie. And then that takes us out with the is that with the lady going smooth sailing?
Yeah. It's smooth sailing.
Right, with the highly successful, wonderful Radio London into Tattoo, which again, you could say it doesn't really tie into the concept of the album, but I don't know. I think Tattoo is one of the best songs.
Oh God, that guitar tone, like I don't know if it was like through a Leslie, but it just sounds kind of wonky.
Yeah, me and my brother were talking about each other. I mean, who can't relate to that? And growing up,
the harmonies.
Right. What, is it Brain or Bronze, the month where you were born? We just can't understand. It just opens up very majestically with those guitar strings, like Ethan was saying.
It's the most majestic song about child abuse I've heard.
About going to get tattoos?
Yeah, beat my brother, or whatever.
Yeah, we went and we borrowed money and we got, And again, the studio version's very understated. Welcome to my live tattoo, but live, listen to that on Live at Leeds. They go to town on that section. Keith just starts going crazy with that.
Whereas on the record, he's pretty sedated.
Very sedated. But even Daltrey, you'll be there when I die. Very, very, very simply stated, but masterfully.
But what you just hit on something right there. And I think that may be why I like 60s Who more than I like 70s Who, is because Daltrey, great voice. He was more understated though. And he didn't just, well,
he didn't become he didn't become Tommy yet. Yeah.
Yeah. He wasn't Tommy. He was just singing these songs.
Right.
And that's why I don't like the live version of Substitute very much. It's because I think he's
shouting it.
Yeah. Whereas instead he's singing it.
That's
a good compromise if you want the kind of sound of both. On the BBC Sessions Who record, they did a version of Substitute around 1970, and it's still at the point where Roger can sound like how he did in 66.
Without shouting it.
Yeah. So he sounds like that, but the backing stuff sounds like how they kind of were at Leeds.
At Leeds, right, but he was still kind of singing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tattoo takes us into the Radio London Church of Your. That's actually one of the best ones.
Which
go to the church of your choice.
So bizarre when I looked into it. It was all of these jingles were part of the same package from Pam's.
Right.
Like you can hear the weird. It sounds almost like a talk box. It's called a Sonavox, and they had these like little speaker things that I'm not even quite sure how it works, but I digress. Part of that thing was a church thing because they were selling this to a lot of American stations.
Oh, that's right out of a church.
Yeah, and so, but they would sell that, and you could say like go to church on Sunday, or some like extremely religious message in the thing. But Radio London just go to the church of your choice.
Radio London reminds you. I mean,
go to the church of your choice.
Boom, right into Our Love Was, which is, this is a great one. And Keith opening up with the drums with a ton of reverb and echo on them. Doom, 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 doom. Yeah.
Funny thing is, in my notes, I actually have for this song, let Andy take the lead.
On Our Love Was. Again, we get Pete again, and that's the thing too. Pete does his fair share of singing lead vocals on this album. It's not a Roger dominated album at all. And you got Pete on Odorono, Our Love Was, Sunrise, Relax.
Yeah.
So
not
Relax, not really Relax.
No, but I Can't Reach You.
He's on. I'm sorry, I Can't Reach You. I think I think Our Love Was is one of my probably key tracks of the whole record. I love the la 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 long, and then the drums. So right. Musically, it's a nice rhythmic working section. And that's probably Entwistle doing the la la la's, I'm sure, too, because he was very good at doing that, you know. And Keith,
well, that's one of his trademarks.
Yes. What's that one part of the song? I'm just jumping around here too, right before it kind of goes doon 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 doon
Yeah.
doon doon.
I really did like the riff.
The riff is great. That riff is great. You know, and then it kind of, again, you've got that wonderful Elton John effect of modulation where the song starts in one key and then jumps up to another one.
Yeah.
Which this song does that a little bit, you know.
Nice little key change.
Really very because now it's like our love was, and because you know, our love was soaring. Like his lyrics are like soaring. Our love was flying. Our love was soaring. So that I love all that about that track. Again,
it leads into my favorite. I think this
jingle?
might be my favorite jingle on the record.
Oh,
you're a pussy cat. You know where it's at. Hit down on every place. The AM sound.
You like all the ones with the weird voices.
I love the weird voices.
The AM sound. Breathe easy, breathe easy.
And then it goes into a second jingle with hold your group together with road to sound strings.
Right. And then boom, right into the hit of the album.
Right into I Can See for Miles.
Right into the classic I Can See for Miles. In fact, and one of the box sets, I think it might be the Maxim R&B one, when you actually go to I Can See for Miles, you hear them. They actually tagged on the jingle at the beginning of the track.
Well, as they should.
And I was like, oh, and I think that actually was how I actually discovered, wait a minute, this isn't a song by itself. I need to look into what that album came from. I think that's how I figured out this whole 60s, you know, pirate radio aspect thing. But yeah, I Can See for Miles.
It must be jarring though sorry if I keep interrupting.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, it must be jarring for people who don't know the whole like pirate radio concept going and listening to this record. It's like, what the hell is this? Right. Why are there these ads and these weird little bits and pieces that go along with it? Why are these there?
Yeah. Well, they're the uninitiated, and they need to be.
Yeah.
And
we'll initiate them by force if we have to.
Listen, get on board or get ran over. This is a song where I don't know if like Pete like really. I mean, I know he's like disappointed this wasn't a mega smash hit, but it's a good song, and it's probably one of the strongest songs on the album. It's great, but I don't like. I think I like Substitute or I Can't Explain better than this.
Yeah, you
know, and I know like he still harbors like resentment for this song being like not the smash that it should have been. Again, very psychedelic, very of the period, you know. I think it's a great song. It's kind of gotten lost there in the pantheon of Who tracks. I mean, what do you think about I Can See for Miles?
Well, I grabbed this too.
Yeah, so tell me about that.
When I think of I Can See for Miles, I think of when I saw the Who initiate Hold Up program part of the show, adding to my Tom Hunyadi impression. When I saw them, the main takeaway from that show was seeing them do I Can See for Miles, because they had, you know, this video screen with these, you know, landscapes, and like, you know, the ground was also the ceiling, and it was I don't even know how to describe it. You just look up Who 2017 I Can See for Miles and you'll know what I mean.
It's also a song that I guess they can play it. They've done it justice, I guess, now because their live act has been better. But there's some 80s versions of I Can See for Miles with Kenny Jones and stuff, and it just doesn't sound that. Like, I know they played it on the '89 tour.
Oh God, the Who on Ice.
And that when they did Tommy, and I Can See for Miles sounded so bad.
Well, that whole tour sounded terrible.
I disagree. I think the Tommy stuff was good.
Well, that's about when the Who started playing. They had to turn down Entwistle.
Yeah.
If memory serves, because Townsend's hearing was
right, and he had all he could play was an acoustic guitar on that tour.
Yeah.
But that's a song, like you hear that 80s tinny version of I Can See for Miles with the girl backing singers, and you're like, oh man.
Well, no one was immune to the girl backing singers.
Everybody did it.
Hell, Pink Floyd. That defined the momentary lapse of reason tour.
Sure. But in terms of the 60s content, it's just also a song they probably didn't, you notice in their set lists after this in the 70s, they weren't playing I Can See for Miles.
Oh, it was probably fairly dated by then. It's like, oh God, another flower power left over.
And that's
like, imagine if the Stones kept We Love You in the set lists into like Sticky Fingers.
Right. It just wouldn't sound. I couldn't see them dusting off I Can See for Miles when they're playing tracks off Who's Next and Quadrophenia. It just was not going to jive.
Yeah. Like, this is Roger Daltrey in the frilly shirt and Townsend in his paisley jacket on the Smothers Brothers.
Smothers Brothers, or playing out at the Monterey Pop. This is that period done up. So I mean, listen, it's the hit of and I think even says on my American copy, it's even got the hype sticker, right? Including I Can See for Miles. So,
plus 10 new selections.
So that clearly that was the single that they were pushing,
They didn't go so far as to retitle the album I Can See for Miles and pull a Happy Jack.
No. They did not, but there's another version of that coming out in the box set, which I think it's like take 8 or something like that, or take 5, I think. And I'm really anxious to hear how that sounds.
I will say my favorite part of the whole song is when they kind of switch up the chorus after the first chorus, instead of just like, I could see for miles and miles. When it goes like, I could see for miles and miles. I have a terrible singing voice, so it's hard to demonstrate without breaking copyright laws.
That's a cool part. I dig the outro of the song. Again, it almost puts you like in a trance, like the song actually is going on and on and on and on and on and on and on, and then fades out. Yeah. That's probably one of the coolest effects of the whole song. And then it just kind of takes us into
you have to flip. This is the part where you have to, flip the record.
Now you got to flip the record over and listen to another jingle. Take it away. Yeah. Take it away. What do we hear next?
Well, you hear the Charles Atlas chorus with dynamic tension turns you into
the beast of a man.
I had to Google today because I wanted to be informed who Charles Atlas was, and he was, some Italian American bodybuilder weightlifter guy who had a workout program.
And now you see why Entwistle is wearing that on the jacket.
The thing with that though is I didn't know this until I had dug into it. There's a few different variations of that album cover throughout the world, including one in Canada where they changed Charles Atlas on the cover to isometrics.
Really?
I would show that, but I don't have a Canadian copy. I bought mine in Floridia.
Floridia.
Yeah.
But Charles Atlas takes us into another wonderful Townsend ballad.
The song that really drew me back into the Who Sell Out after years of just kind of years of saying a quick one was my favorite.
This one got you hooked back in?
This one's like, okay, you have my attention again.
Yeah, and that's I Can't Reach You, which is again, this is like classic Townsend writing here. One that, again, a song that suits Townsend's voice way better than Daltrey's.
Yeah.
Soft, tender, gentle verses, and into a great chorus. I can't reach you. With arms outstretched, I can't reach you. Great piano, little bouncy piano that I'm a million ages past you, a million years behind you too. It's this is like classic 60s Who right here.
Yeah.
It's when you play, if you're trying to initiate somebody into like Who songs that you shouldn't know, this song needs to be on that playlist. Would you agree?
Exactly. I would 100% agree. Again, this was the song, like after I got back from Floridia, I had, plopped this record on the turntable before I filed it away on my shelf, working away at my computer. And then this song came on and I'm like, oh.
Oh, you're now turning into Sopranos episode again.
Yeah. Woke up this morning.
Yeah. Again, I don't think any of the songs generally, I mean, some of them are tied to, pushing this product and advertising stuff. This is not. This is just a nice Townsend ballad, that works its way, nicely into side 2 of the record. I love I Can't Reach You.
I couldn't put it any better.
You're so alive, I'm nearly dead. I can't reach you with arm touch.
I can't feel something, but the nerves are dead.
Right. So I Can't Reach You takes us into what jingle next?
Takes us into Medac.
Oh, right. See, now right into Medac,
which funny enough, on the original, on all the American copies, it was called Spotted Henry.
Yeah.
On the label.
Why is that?
I think there must have been some sort of licensing issue, because all those covers, I'm not sure.
So you tell me, American copies say it says Spotted Henry
on the record? Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Check.
Let me look, because the cover says Medac.
Andy is now pulling out his copy of the Medac, Who Sell Out.
It says Medac on the cover. I Can't Reach You, Spotted Henry. Yeah, it's there.
Yeah.
Wow.
It says Medac on the British one. And for some reason, again, with the cover variations, this is the most severe one. In Australia, they straight up changed the cover and swapped out the brand for a different, it's like Clarasol or something.
Clarasol, I think I've seen that, yeah.
They swapped out Medac for that.
All right, labels are, what pressing is this?
That's, I should have brushed up. That's, Rainbow Decca. That's got to be like 67 or to around like 71, I think.
Okay.
Mine looks the same. And for solidarity, I'll pull mine out too.
Thank you.
And
that's your American, right? Yeah.
Yeah, this is my American. I think it's like the exact same.
Yeah. Perimeter print on there too, or no?
Mine does not have perimeter print.
Okay. Mine does not either. Yeah. Probably very similar issued. I bought mine for the whopping price of $14.99.
Oh, I think I paid more than that. Because I just wanted a nice American copy. Or I think I just wanted a copy.
Oh, see, the date's even on the sticker when I got it. I bought it on December 23rd, 2006.
Oh, there you go. And see, yours comes with the hype sticker, and mine has a cut corner.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, probably a promo then, right?
And, well, I'd say more cutout bin.
Oh, cutout bin. God forbid.
Yeah. Imagine that. Fucking Who records in the cutout bin.
Yeah. So we had a little 50-second little jingle for the Medac, which now Keith is represented as well. Yeah. And that takes us into another Townsend.
Nicknamed by his friends Old Yella.
Yeah. And that takes us into Relax. Okay. Which it can either make you relax or you don't know what's going on with Relax.
You don't know. There's that organ intro.
Yeah.
Probably a Hammond. Probably.
This one, this one sounds like it's like this sounds like it's Pete with Roger singing or Pete and John singing.
Yeah.
This sounds like two of them are definitely singing on it. Yes, and I am listening to it as we go through it here, people. I am. I think they're both on this one. Favorite part of this song is when Pete, we try harder and harder. I like that. I like that bit.
Yeah. Well, I like it as the song goes on. It gets a little more of an edge to it.
Yeah, it gets a little wacky, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, I like it when it gets wacky.
And then it actually just ends with the guy going, or somebody going, relax. Right? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know who that is. Now this
It'd be
one,
fucking Speedy Keen for all we know.
This one jives with the ethos of what the Who Sell Out is too, I think, in terms of the concept and stuff like that. I always thought Relax was a good one. Sunrise as well, we'll get to in a minute. But yeah, these songs kind of go into it, tie it very well. Relax. That takes us into Silas.
Silas Stingy.
This is John Entwistle. Take it away, Ethan. This is your stuff.
This is another one of those great Entwistle story songs, like the aforementioned
Boris the Spider.
Creepy crawly.
And Whiskey Man. You know?
Yes.
It's why couldn't the Who stay this fucking quirky?
That's why you like this album, because they were just so quirky.
They peaked with Jekyll and Hyde and dogs.
Yeah. Psychedelic Who, and that's what this is, man.
That's about the time I think the acid wore off.
Yeah, I'm sure. Pete was, definitely, and this was before he discovered Mir Baba, by the way, too.
Oh, yes.
Well before that.
See, the Beatles aren't the only ones with spiritual gurus.
Hell no.
That's why he became such good friends with Ronnie Lane.
That's right.
They had the same spiritual guru.
Mir Baba. Right. So which went into time.
Which lets me tie in the Small Faces.
Of course. And Ronnie Lane. Silas Stingy. What's he talking about in Silas Stingy?
I have no idea. But the song's Silas Stingy, and then in the chorus he's like, there goes Mingy Stingy. Like, okay, you could have just called the song Mingy Stingy.
Could have. Great 60s organ in this track too. Then in the head, and then you hear the organ going. Yeah. That's trademark 60s sound right there. Yeah. Which is done very well in this song. But if I'm
there's
being
some
honest,
great 60s organ on this record.
Oh, no doubt. It's probably it's probably up there with Marianne with the Shaky Hand, though, in terms of not one of my favorites on the record.
Oh, I couldn't imagine the record without it.
You couldn't.
I couldn't.
Yeah. This is, again, if we're play it or skip it, which we're not, I would skip it.
Yeah, that's a different show.
Right, that's a different show, but...
And I would need to sound like this. Yeah, partner. We love you, Tom.
We love you. We love you. Jingle at the end of Silas? No. That goes right into the beautiful...
There's no track... Or there's no jingle till the end of the record now,
right?
Because it goes into Sunrise.
Sunrise and into Rael. Yeah, Sunrise, gem, little just. Yeah.
Well, I knew you'd like it because this is the most Tommy-esque song on the record. Hell, at one point you can tell where Pete's going, like direction-wise. Like where his vision for the future goes, because you can straight up hear the Pinball Wizard riff at one point. Yeah.
Good point. That's a great point.
And
you're doing that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of like a prelude to Tommy.
Well, he's called this Tommy's Parents. This record is Tommy's Parents, and
not to be confused with Tommy's uncle.
No, or his cousin.
Yeah.
But there are trademarks of what was to come all over this record down the road. Here in Sunrise, later on in Rael, which I mean literally is that's just straight up out of the underture. But Sunrise, I wonder, this is just Pete and himself. This is a great song. Just Pete and acoustic. There's oh man.
See, this isn't my favorite song on the record. It's kind of in the same boat as Marianne with the Shaky Hand for me.
For you, only because it's just an acoustic ballad that doesn't have a lot of quirkiness to it, right?
And again, I think that's kind of my reputation at this point. I don't have a lot of patience for soft acoustic songs.
Oh, it's okay. See, like this could be on Quadrophenia.
Maybe one of these days I will like it.
maybe. Yeah, I actually, before I knew, I actually would have thought this would have closed the album nice, but then, we wouldn't have.
This is the perfect closer, Rael.
Rael is what a song. Start us off with Rael. Go ahead.
Well, the first thing about this is if you're listening to the song in the digital domain, it may be a little confusing because the album's been reissued a bunch in the past, and they've done some weird things with this song in those releases.
Yes, they have. Go ahead.
Like
please elaborate.
The 1995 CD, which my partner will hold up, had the song, because on the record it's called Rael, like parts 1 and 2, and on the CD parts 1 and 2 are just called Rael 1, and there's like a separate other track called Rael 2.
Right. Now I don't know why the MCA back then, this is the MCA release.
Yeah.
Why they chose to ban them that way, but it seems like that's been corrected, because even the 2009 fixed that.
Yeah.
2009 fixed that and just called them Rael 1 and 2.
That's why on like listening for this show, I forced myself to listen to the record so I'd be less confused. Because
without all the other
all on Spotify, like there's like different track, or for lack of a better term, like different track.
I got you. I know what you're saying.
Yeah, it's just confusing.
Because there's so many different variations of this.
Yeah. You'd be confused because on that CD, Rael 2 follows Rael 1, and so you think, oh, so that closes the record,
right?
Rael 2,
right? Yeah, this song is all over the place, lyrically and musically, though. I mean, it's marching drums. It's like, what are we going into war here?
This is where the organ on this record really shines to me.
Yes.
This is where you can hear the total 60s organ.
And the Daltrey's going, the red chins in their millions. I mean, that's...
And this has, I think, one of my favorite musical transitions of all time.
Which is?
It's between verse 1 and verse 2. And then like you can kind of hear like the beat drop out, like they're like fading into a different thing, and just Rael.
Oh yeah, like you're waiting for it to finish, and they jump right into
it's like it sweeps you out from underneath into the next verse.
Yeah,
which I love, because I love it when music takes you in a different direction than you were expecting.
And that song does. It's like wait a minute, there's a beat missing here. What do they do? What do they do here?
It's the beat just disappears,
and it makes you think there's like a mastering error or something on the track.
Like someone did like a tape fade into a different part of the song.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to read about this in the deluxe box set when it comes out.
I can't wait to hear how Pete bitches about this too.
Oh, a year from now? Well,
yeah.
But then Rael is the song that was the forker, the lead off to Tommy later on. The organ, to Ethan's point.
My God, the organ.
What organ parts in the song are you talking about? That stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like in that aforementioned kind of verse transition, you can hear it at the end of the second one, and it's just really strong. And it's I'm a sucker for a good Hammond. At least I think it's a Hammond. It could be a Farfisa or a Vox. I don't think it's a Vox. I think it's probably
but then right around 3.5 minutes into the song, we hear those guitar bing, bring, bing, bring, and you're like, wait a minute, what the hell am I listening to?
Yeah, and all the fucking weird percussion with the drenched in reverb. It sounds like I'm glad I have a proper excuse to mention this band now. Dave D, Dozy Beaky, Mick and Titch had a hit the following year with a song called The Legend of Xanadu that has this kind of whip sound effect is one of the main things in the song. And it too is a percussion thing drenched in reverb. And so I was listening to this and I'm like, this kind of sounds like Xanadu.
Very cool. Oh, I did not know that.
Not to be confused with Olivia Newton-John Xanadu or Rush Xanadu.
or actually Jeff Lynne's Xanadu, because it's really his song anyway. One of the coolest riffs.
I'm just saying that for,
of course. Oh yeah, it's her Xanadu.
Well, no, it's on the single. It says Olivia Newton-John and the Electric Light Orchestra.
And we're gonna get to them in a future episode of Anything But the Beatles.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. That'll come in time.
One of the coolest riffs in all of the Who canon, though, is that.
See what I did there, Andy?
I did.
It comes. It'll. Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun. That's one of the coolest riffs in all the music.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's if you want to hear all 9 minutes of the underture, you can do that and hear that too.
But I feel like this kind of works as a transition into the weird between period of the Who. Before it starts off kind of like a normal song, and then it gets weird and chaotic at the end, and then the following year you have Call Me Lightning and Dogs and Jekyll and Hyde.
Is it's wacky stuff, really, from when you think about where they were.
Wacky man, wacky man. There goes Minchie Stitch.
Yeah, that's it. It all comes back. It all comes back to the Jingles, folks. It all comes back to the Jingles. So we close with this kind of like Rael naive thing, and that takes and then to the John Mason Cars, right? Or no?
No, it takes you to the locked groove, which I can't play on my fucking turntable.
Which I can't play on this, right? Because I'm looking at the deluxe edition, dopey me, which I just played before we did the show. If you have the original LP and you have a turntable that doesn't automatically return, my co-host will tell us we'll play this. What does it sound like when you do it?
I need you to snap like.
Track records.
Over and over again.
Yeah.
Mimicking what the Beatles did with the end of the Pepper LP, with the Never Could Be Any Other Way. Same thing over and over and over again.
I think the Stones had locked groove on Satanic Majesty's Request.
Did they?
Too. I think there was like church bells.
Yeah.
I could be completely mistaken.
Yeah.
I thought there was something weird with like the end of, the one side of the record.
But I hadn't spun the vinyl proper until, probably even it had been years, and I forgot that it ended with that.
Well, you've also got you're in the 1% there with your nice classic records reissue on the thick vinyl.
The heavier vinyl, yeah.
Yeah.
Which
that's like super audiophile.
This one is.
Yeah.
Well,
from around 2005.
The track records one, yeah. But I mean, it doesn't feel. I mean, it feels a little heavier, but.
I mean, if you want to see what that label originally looked like.
Please, and then actually, the reason I like that was because you get the poster. We got the poster with that one, which was so cool. Which is all we'll see. I'm sure reproduced with the box set when it comes out.
Well, reproduced with the box set and reproduced with the nice 2 LPs,
which you have coming. You have the mono. Yeah, that's another question I was going to ask you once you show us there.
I have the original mono too.
Yeah, he's got a gem there. And I love those UK monos with their high gloss covers. We didn't do that good here in the States. I can see the glossiness from here.
But yeah, on the original track records.
That's it, baby.
Although my copy I bought from a seller who I don't think was a proper record seller, and I'm too scared to put this through my spin clean myself.
Oh, I wouldn't do that.
I mean, I have a spin clean.
Now, did you get the poster with that though, or no?
Oh no, the poster would have added like, maybe even a digit to the price.
Yeah, I'm sure it would. But
I will admit, I paid 3 digits
for that record.
Yeah.
Wow.
It very, very low 3 digits, high 2 digit.
Oh, psychedelic poster included. How about that?
Yeah.
Yeah, but this early 2000s seems about right when I got this.
I think it came out around 2005.
Yeah. I'm willing to.
And I have the new. I think it's the mono one. I'm not sure because the website didn't say. but I was a fucking dork, and I wanted the mono, but like You Discover Music had it all sold out.
Yeah. So you have a mono coming. So
well,
mono,
I think because I was
so,
reading like the catalog number, like the barcode, and it was lining up with what I was seeing elsewhere. So fingers crossed that it is a mono, and I didn't just buy the stereo.
yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing an original mono mix done again, and I don't know if it's going to be this kind of cleaned up kind of this kind of hybrid mono stereo stuff that the producers are doing now. I mean, you've got the original mono album on the 2009 deluxe, which sounds good, but to me, I don't hear a whole lot of difference, to be quite honest.
Isn't that Classic Records one mono too?
Is it? I don't even know. Well, it's not labeled stereo, so I'm going to guess that it is. Let's see, because if it's not labeled, yeah, I'm sure it is. I'm just, we've got the box set coming. I will listen to it a lot differently.
I don't think there's going to be like a remix of the mono. I think there might be one of the stereo, because I don't think there's precedent for them remixing a mono. They didn't do that with Pepper.
And I've noticed some of those, like what you mentioned with the Rael 1 and 2, there are definitely differences in the mono and stereos on those Raels, I've noticed.
Yeah. Like especially with the vocals.
Yes. Very different. Very different.
Well, that song is a strange recording history, because I think they straight up had to re-record it.
Is that right?
At one point.
Yeah.
But I don't think the re-recorded one is the one we hear.
No.
I think they ended up managing to use the original take. Or it could be the other way around, because it says on that same deluxe edition that I think you were holding, like Rael IBC Studios re-record or something like that.
Yeah, so it's gonna be quite. I mean, and there's a slew of bonus tracks that are going to be available on all these box sets. We're not going to go through all of them, but one of my favorites is Melancholia, which again is so like the Who Psychedelic Who, which was on the 95, but not on the 2009, but now it will be on this Uber box set.
Well, something that's been on the last few that's kind of more Tommy-ish Who, but still 60s. Early Morning Cold Taxi.
Early Morning Cold Taxi. Yeah, that's a good one too.
And then these two matching ones that are titled so similarly. At first, I didn't know that they were different songs until I played them both. It's like, oh wow, these are not the same song.
Which
you have Glittering Girl, and then you have Glow Girl.
I know. Yeah.
Like, wait, are these two not the same song?
Right. Yeah. Glittering Girl, Glow Girl. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, so,
especially since some versions have Glittering Girl, some versions have Glow Girl, some versions have both, and some versions have none.
Right. Yeah. So again, is that another case where the 95 has Glow Girl? Yeah. The 95 has Glow Girl. The 2009 does not. But it has Glittering Girl. See? So
and God, even I'm getting the songs confused now. I think it's Glow Girl is the one that's like separate pairs of lingerie.
Right. Right.
Yeah. It's the wing of the airplane has just caught fire. Right. I say without reservation.
Right.
Couldn't get much higher.
And to get even more confused, you've got a song called Girl's Eyes as well.
So all you fans of Girls out there, you've got your bases covered.
You do. So there's a slew of bonus stuff. Even if you didn't pony up for the super box set, and you can find a copy of the 2009, there's plenty on the 2009 deluxe edition. I mean, you've got 30 tracks on disc 1 and 23 tracks on disc 2 with an original stereo with an original mono. And now I don't know how hard these are to come by anymore, but I didn't think a super box set was coming, but sure enough, it is.
I was so excited when they announced that there was going to be a super deluxe of this, because I've wanted one of these for years. Yeah, like a proper deluxe edition of this album.
Yeah, it's going to be, it'll sit nicely on my shelf next to Tommy and Quadrophenia in the other room.
The thing is, are Tommy and Quadrophenia the same size?
They are.
But the billion-dollar question is, will this one be the same size as those?
It looks like it. It looks like it's being designed the same way with like they have like a little bit of a cutout on the side to pull the book out. Tommy and Quad are the same way. I think from what I've seen in the trailer videos, this has done the same thing.
Because if they go the route of the Beatles and they pull another thing where, the Pepper box and the White Album box were not the same size.
Oh, yeah. That was
just because they wanted to do the lenticular on Pepper, which
I get with the with that. But look, the solo camps have got it right with us kind of, we're us collectors. We're so anal about how things look in our, in our collections. But these are the things that we lose sleep over. Yes, folks.
And I think the Lennon ones have been the same size.
They have. So the Who don't have a whole lot of albums, as we know. When you look at the McCartneys and the Dylans and the Stones and the Beach Boys, they don't have a lot of albums in their discography. So any kind of lavish treatment that they get, I am all for. They don't have a lot of albums, and Townsend has said this. He even said in that recent interview, he said, we had 7 to 10 good years when we've been living off the rest, which we've been living off of for the last 40 years. And he's not wrong.
I mean, what a great 7 to 10 years, though.
Yeah, I mean, I want an Uber Who Are You box set. I want an Uber.
Oh God.
I want an Uber Who by Numbers box set. I want all that. I do, and we're getting Who's Next because he's admitted that as much in the press interviews. So
okay, so that means we've had a Super Deluxe My Generation, we've had a Super Deluxe Sellout. There's already been a Tommy. There's going to be a Who's Next. There's been
is there a Super Deluxe My Generation?
I think so.
I don't know about that. Vinyl.
I think there was one a few years ago.
Maybe there was. You're right. But again, me not being a fan of that album, I wouldn't have got it anyway. So, even for the completist in me, I have a copy on vinyl, but
I don't know if it was like this level of Super Deluxe. I think it was maybe like if it was a CD, it might have been a four disc.
I think it was one of these.
No, I'm not talking about that. It was I think it was 2017 or 2014. They put out a box.
Oh, okay.
I think it was like 4 or 5 CDs.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I mean, again, you got Happy Jack. A quick one. Which
if they do a deluxe of that, I can die happy.
You'd like that too, because that would bookend your psychedelic Who for you, and then
what I've done is, for my uncle, I made a little, hybrid album called The Quick Seller.
Yes, you did. Thank you for sharing, by the way.
Where I re-edited the Radio London jingles throughout the record, including like the Quick One songs and the singles. If my partner has listened to it, the Radio London reminds you go to the church of your choice feeds right into Substitute.
I actually have not listened to it yet, but I haven't. But I will.
Oh, you dick!
Listen, would you want me to BS you and tell you I did? I haven't, but I will.
I appreciate this.
I will. So you took the Radio London and it goes right into Substitute.
Yeah,
that sounds pretty freaking cool.
And I did that with all the other songs too, like the song Cobwebs and Strange. I swapped out Heinz Baked Beans because I keep getting those songs confused because they're so similar.
Yes, they are.
Yeah. They are. It's like, but
they sound very similar. You're right.
Yeah. Or it's the other one's like,
yeah.
It's just it's a different melody slightly.
And you see the wonderful, if you've ever seen Jeff Stein's wonderful, The Kids Are All Right documentary. The bit with that where they play that part of the promo film. And
the thing is with that movie is a bit of a clusterfuck because I don't think that was originally for that song. I think it might have even been for Call Me Lightning. The video was for. But I know the one you're talking about where it's like he's got the helmet and he's running around.
Yeah, he's running around. So that would be cool. And I think if they were to neatly sum up, and if they were going to put it out on a box, it would have been this one. If they kind of take that 1968 period and do something with it.
Well, they do.
Well, I don't mean the Magic Bus stuff, but I mean like taking extras that might be out there and putting that out in some kind of a package now.
Yeah.
The Magic Bus on tour sums up that period of chaos nicely, but maybe do a deluxe version of that. You know what I'm saying?
But they tacked Call Me Lightning. They tacked Dogs. They tacked Jekyll and Hyde onto this new Who box, which I was quite pleased to see.
Yeah. So it's there's gonna be a lot of listening going on and reviewing, and I'm just really glad.
Which we beat the punch by or that's not that. What's the expression?
Beat him to the punch.
Beat him to the punch. Yeah, by recording this like right before the box comes out.
Well, that was the idea. So Pete, if you're listening or checking it out.
Yeah, we could use a signed letter.
Thanks, man. Listen, we'll plug it, but thank you.
Sorry, I said you bitched.
Yeah.
I didn't mean it, Pete.
So, this was fun. This was fun there, partner, doing our first look at, music that is anything but the Beatles, and what a trip looking back at the Who sellout. And we're all in a Who frenzy now, waiting for this stuff to drop, and I'm going to be playing lots of Who over the next few weeks. That's all I can tell you. I don't know about you.
Oh, me too.
Yeah.
Oh God.
So we're going to post this. You're watching this now, and then next month, stay tuned for episode 2 of Anything But the Beatles, where we've already talked about the artist in this episode that we're doing, but not the album we're going to be talking about.
I may have dropped it as a pun somewhere in the episode, but you'll have to go and find the right time where I said it.
Yes, you will. So I'd like to thank my co-host Ethan Alexanian for coming up with this idea to talk about music that we love and share a passion about, and just kick it around. If you like the album and we forgot stuff, which we definitely did because we're not experts, we're just two Who geeks and we like our music. Please, tell us about the show and what you like, or anything we might have missed historically. Some context. We just covered it basically the way that we like the album, the jingles, and tell us about us in the comments on our YouTube page, which is there. Anything But the Beatles, with our whole 1 subscriber, which is my other podcast.
Oh, and me.
And Ethan's podcast.
So that makes 2.
Yeah. In terms of the other stuff that I do.
You can also reach us at anythingbutthebeatles@gmail.com. If you have suggestions for albums that you'd like to see covered. We're on Facebook, Anything But the Beatles. We're on Instagram, Anywhere But the Beatles, or anything but the Beatles.
You did it now too. See?
Yeah, you got in my head.
Sorry.
Got in my head, you meatball.
Oh, let's take it easy, Paul. Let me tell you.
Where I did some kind of custom artwork promoting the thing.
Awesome, which was a great job of those as well. A couple of posts where Ethan kind of just took the artwork and, did his little Ethan Alexanian brand to it. And please check us out.
By that you mean make it worse.
Make it better. Please check us out on those pages. It's a show that we're not going to do. This isn't like a Fans on the Run, which is Ethan's show, which is pretty much, bi-weekly, or a Two Legs, which is weekly. This is just something that 2 guys are going to get together and talk about once a month, because we're already involved in so many other projects.
We have our fingers in many pies.
For a fish or finger pies.
There we go.
So
where can people find Two Legs?
Two Legs. Yes, the show.
As if this show isn't kind of co-opting the Two Legs feed a little.
Two Legs, yeah. Paul McCartney Podcast is a show that I do with my partner and friend Tom Hunyadi, and I've been with him for almost 2 years, not quite, but a year and a half, doing podcasts. And we're on Facebook, Podbean, YouTube, a Paul McCartney Podcast. We're at 560 some odd subscribers on YouTube. We are a weekly show that's pre-recorded, and we are also weekly live, where we rank the tracks on all the McCartney canon solo albums, which we are rapidly coming to the end of now. And my partner here on Anything But the Beatles has kind of graciously given his artistic talent and done some killer thumbnails for every one of these albums. So if you go to our YouTube page, you can see all the thumbnails that he's done. They've all been great. The press to play one was interesting because he had a tiptoe about how he was going to do that one.
Well, there is an alternate thumbnail for that.
Yeah, but you're not going to do nothing with that. So
it's already been seen by those who need to see it.
Yeah, I'm sure. So yeah, that Tom and I do that, and we're as of this recording and posting, we'll have ranked Chaos and Creation, and we're going to do Memory Almost Full after that. So yeah, just keep following us on those pages.
And by the time this is probably posted, I will either have just been on or about to appear on the aforementioned show about Ubu Jubu on Two Legs.
That's right. Because that's the latest episode of Two Legs, the pre-recorded episode. Ethan joined Tom and I, and we did a show about Paul's radio show, Ubu Jubu, from 1995.
I can just say, play a little drinking game along at home. Take a shot every time you hear the word Ubu Jubu said. And you may not live to see the next day.
You may not. So that's where we can find us on Two Legs. Ethan, tell us about Fans on the Run.
Yeah, I host a show called Fans on the Run, as I've already probably leveraged that to do this. Show by, for, and about Beatles fans, where I bring someone on each week or every other week now. And we go through their long and winding road of Beatle fandom, so to speak. I've had Andy on. I've had the aforementioned Tom Hunyadi on. I've had Tom on, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, you can find me pretty much the same places you can find Two Legs. I just hit 200 subscribers on YouTube, which, hooray for me.
Good for you, man. You're doing it at your own pace.
And you can find, Fans on the Run, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, where I post all the artwork I do for my shows. And yeah, that's
Great.
about it.
All right, everybody. Well, thank you. After you listen to this, go get some Heinz baked beans and listen to the Who Sell Out, man.
Exactly.
Ethan, thanks, buddy. Talk to you soon.
All right. And remember, folks.
Check records. Check records. Check records.
Bye.